Hello and welcome again to Kumi now. I'm excited to welcome you to the start of our Palestinian special meetings. Before we go further, I'd like to remind you that our meeting is being broadcasted live on Facebook and will be posted on YouTube. If you want to make sure your photo does not accidentally appear online, please turn it. Please, we would also greatly appreciate it if you share it with friends, people, members of your organizations, churches who would like to attend this special meeting. So the format is going to be different. Today's format is going to be different from the previous meetings that we've had. Today we have a very special guest, and it's a blessing that she has accepted to join us. She is one of the strongest people in Palestine. Vera Baboun is known because she is the first female mayor of Bethlehem. She is not currently holding this position, but anybody who thinks of Bethlehem cannot erase important stories, the nativity story, and I think the first female mayor, Vera Baboun, an inspiring lady and individual from Bethlehem. Today we will interview her and discuss her journey in Bethlehem, the amazing stuff that she has accomplished in Bethlehem, and to get to know Vera Baboun more as she explains the situation in Bethlehem. So, Vera, is everything working with your mic?
Yes, yes.
So thank you.
Everything is okay.
Thank you for being with us today.
Welcome, and nice meeting you all.
Many of the people who are attending this meeting are close friends of Sabil, and they themselves have been in Bethlehem multiple times. I know some of them have been at least 20 times in Bethlehem. So I want to ask you, we all know that you are the first mayor of Bethlehem, female mayor of Bethlehem. What are you doing these days?
Actually, first nice meeting you all from Bethlehem, indeed. Nice for being committed to our Palestinian cause and a Christian existence as well. I'm really concerned and committed to the issue of women leadership and women capacities and women role in the decision-making process, whether in Palestine or the Arab world. So I work with the UN as a consultant in some projects that relate to the empowerment of women in the political process, the empowerment of the voices when it comes to the decision making. And this is my ultimate concern in the last few years as a woman who really experienced leadership and not only speaking about leadership. So this is my main concern, gender empowerment. Definitely as well, I'm a vocal of the Palestinian challenges living under the occupation today and how much it affects gender equality and the Christian existence in our part of the world.
Many places in the world, COVID-19. How is Bethlehem doing? I saw some groups coming back to Bethlehem.
You know, it all started in Bethlehem when COVID was there in Palestine. It started in Bethlehem. Definitely, we had taken a lot of tough measures in order to control the spread of the COVID. It wasn't an easy process. People in the city as well as in the East Bank, together with the Ministry of Health, the Palestinian Ministry of Health, we did our best to control the pandemic as in other countries. We're talking about health issues and the vaccines and the number, mainly with the new Omicron that we're witnessing all around the world. But when I talk about COVID in Bethlehem, I think the city who has ultimately and most critically suffered from the emergence and existence and the spread of the pandemic COVID is Bethlehem. And the main reason, as you know, Bethlehem depends on its GDP and economy on tourism. And if we talk about the city of Bethlehem per se, 80% of our economy depends on tourism, 80%. 40% is directly controlled and directly supported by tourism and the people who own the tourism industry in Bethlehem. And the other 40% are those who benefit indirectly from the touristic industry. So today we are talking about an incredible increase in unemployment. If you visit Bethlehem today, Bethlehem is empty from tourism, and thus we are talking about a parallel, the whole facet of tourism when it comes to the visiting and the pilgrimage to the Nativity Church and other religious sites in the district of Bethlehem, including the Christian triangle of the cities of Bethlehem, Beit Jala, Beit Sahoud. You don't see the normal scene that we are accustomed to see, which is Bethlehem without tourists and pilgrims is completely abnormal in the scenery, I mean. Today, hotels are closed, souvenir shops are closed. This industry is the life of Bethlehem. And thus, after COVID, Bethlehem, because we're fully dependent on tourism, we are witnessing an economic degradation, and people are suffering. Some are not, definitely, and any other part of the world, but the revival and the continuity of decency of living in Bethlehem is connected to the pilgrimage and touristic process, definitely. So it's a story shared. And for us, it is not simply COVID and tourism as simply economical, but through Bethlehem and its touristic scene, we welcome many foreigners, many pilgrims, many tourists who come and share and see our story as Palestinians today living in Bethlehem, the besieged cities. So we lost both of them. And that's why I thank you. At least you are with us today, as also many other Zoom meetings who are still interconnected and still aware and wanting to know more about the situation in Bethlehem. But today we are living an abnormal situation. The first abnormality, as you all know, due to the political situation of the siege, and the second, due to the absence of the vibrant life of tourism in the city.
So financially, people coping in Bethlehem, most of the...
It differs from one family to another, but the general situation is not easy. And when I say unemployment increased to more than 27%, it's the highest in the West Bank. It's more than any other city or district in the West Bank. And actually, it's after Gaza. Gaza is very high. But when it comes to the cities in the West Bank, Bethlehem is the highest. And it's not, we're talking today about a new challenge. Prices are increasing while the salaries are still the same. No increase took place on the monthly salary of every individual. So it created a new challenge and a new gap. And that's why when it comes to AIDS, when it comes to financial support, the number of the families are increasing who really needs support. I never imagined that we have families in Bethlehem, including Christians and Muslims, who are really poor. We are talking about poverty. And that was not a real case. At least we are living within a culture of support. But today, due to these continuous challenges, we are seeing more families and more families who seek assistance and who hardly can afford their daily living. Many not in the city, but in the district, try to work in Israel to get the permits to work in Israel. Not all of them can have access to permits in order to work as workers in Israel or in Jerusalem, I mean. And that is another creditable challenge because access to Jerusalem is not open, as you know. No one can enter Jerusalem without having and accessing a permit from the Israeli administration. By itself is also highly controlled by security measures or by COVID well-beingness, if you are vaccinated or not. So we ended living in Bethlehem, which by itself, I would like to note to that point, if you track the map, you can see that Bethlehem is far from Ramallah, where Ramallah has the ministries, the embassies, the political representatives. Life in Ramallah is more active, while Bethlehem, far from Ramallah, with many checkpoints to reach, where the families and young people in Bethlehem really feel reluctant to go and apply to work in Ramallah. More than 3% of those who work in Ramallah are from Bethlehem, because either you need to live there or to go and to come back on a daily basis, which takes 2 hours. Being far as well from Ramallah and its living impetus, it creates another challenge for us in Bethlehem when it comes as well to what you have mentioned, Omar, the salaries and how they can have access to their daily living as well. So you feel that Bethlehem is living there in its own corner with the wall separating Jerusalem from Bethlehem, these settlements, and being as well far from other cities, West Bank cities, due to the reality, of course, as well of the checkpoints, the settlements in the middle of the bypass roads, and many prefer to stay in Bethlehem despite the difficult economic situation. And I'm not sure even if we have the opportunities more than others to either work in Ramallah or to work in Jerusalem. That is another creditable challenge. And if you permit me, when it comes to education, many of our young people are university graduates. And due to the lack of job opportunities, they end to work in jobs that do not relate to their specialties, or many even, and not working. And that is another creditable challenge to the youth of Bethlehem, which sometimes lead to many up to immigrate, seeking better life, better job opportunities, or better reality, which we are totally against, where we want all these youth and young capacities to remain, to build the city, to support the city, because the human resource is our ultimate capital. And we are encountering a serious challenge vis-a-vis this issue.
As I've mentioned, our friends have been to Bethlehem multiple times, and they know Bethlehem very well, and they know many of the families there. Bethlehem is surrounded by a wall, checkpoint, land confiscation, military camps, settler roads. In Jerusalem and in the West Bank, in Area C, the situation became much worse. I was reading a report on home demolitions in East Jerusalem, and the number is higher than last year by 20% for the month of January, which 2021 was like the highest since 1967, since the occupation. Is there any political deterioration when it comes from in Bethlehem in the last 2 years?
Now, this is a very important question indeed. Let me give in a way or another, a historical background or a reality background on the status of the district of Bethlehem and the city of Bethlehem vis-a-vis this issue, this political ordeal and political challenge. The size of the district of Bethlehem, the district as a whole, is 603 kilometers square. The number of citizens living in the district of Bethlehem is 210,000 citizens. The number of the Christians living in the district does not exceed the 38,000 citizens out of the 204,000. When it comes to the land, 75% of the district of Bethlehem is Area C. And when I say Area C, since you are aware and you come to our part and to come to Bethlehem, Area C is under the full jurisdiction of the Israeli administration, administration-wise and security-wise. The bigger challenge, apart from the security element, comes to the administration. What does that mean? It means, for me as a Palestinian, I cannot conduct any developmental project or build anything to improve our life or sustain our existence in these areas without taking permit from the Israeli administration. Even if you build because you own the land, it's yours. If you build because you need to build a house, you need to build a factory, whatever you need to do, if you don't take the permit, which is really difficult to get from the Israeli administration, it will be under the threat of demolition. It is under the threat of demolishing it. And if we talk about the word demolish, it is not simply demolishing a stone. It is all about demolition of life. When you talk about a house you build, it is because you need to keep on your family, on your existence, on your reality. But if you encounter the threat of demolition, you will encounter a threat of deportation as well. So 75% of the district of Bethlehem is under the control of the Israeli administration. If we talk about Area A and Area B, Area A is under, the full administration, under the administration of the Palestinian Authority, administration-wise, security-wise. Area B, administration Palestinian, security Israeli. But the whole context, when it comes to administration, it means we are the one responsible to give licenses for building projects for development or housing, or it is only 25%. This led to what? In the Area C, which comprises 75%, the number of the settlements has drastically increased in the district of Bethlehem. The number of settlements, as you know, who are, controlled and settlers live in, they are taken in very important locations in the district of Bethlehem, on tops of mountains where they almost control anything. And when you build a settlement, it needs to be surrounded by bypassing roads, and thus more land is confiscated. More capacity to sustain in the future is fully threatened, and sustainability is disappearing. And that is my question when it comes to Area C and the political solution. When it comes to the city of Bethlehem, the city of Bethlehem per se is separated from Jerusalem by a wall, as you know. And for me as a Christian, the city of Bethlehem is the city of the Nativity. And Jerusalem is the city of the resurrection, the Holy Sepulchre. And that path of faith that the Palestinian Christian live is today cut exactly as the wall separates between those cities. Many young people who live in Bethlehem have hardly visited the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Well, I remember when I was 15 years old, when the road was open between Bethlehem and Jerusalem, I could access or I could enter Jerusalem, visit the Holy Sepulchre, the Christian religious sites, or even the Muslim visiting their religious sites so easily. Today, without a permit, you cannot do it. And for me to separate between the faithful and his spiritual entity, when it comes to religious sites, it's very dangerous. And it has a future ramifications because the entity is an entity of collective things. It is the person, it is the spirituality, it is the social part, it's a mix of everything. But when it comes today, because the territory separation between Bethlehem and Jerusalem, we are talking about a serious jeopardy of this entity. It is not only there, and I always said it, since Bethlehem, the city, is separated by a wall, you can see the wall directly. And this is another psychological challenge. And I have always said it. I am afraid that one day people will be accustomed to the existence of the wall, and the wall will be inner. This is very dangerous, spiritually, psychologically, and mentally. The wall is a physical entity, but if people will live it sustainably, it might become mentally and psychologically. And this is an abnormal type of living when you live in Bethlehem. The wall of Bethlehem is the only wall in the West Bank that you can see it and you touch it immediately because it is in the middle of the city. It is not far from the city. Add to it the huge number of settlements that surrounds the city of Bethlehem as well. The checkpoints. Bethlehem has different checkpoints from all its borders. You cannot get out of Bethlehem if you don't have a permit. And the entry and the exit to the city of Bethlehem is fully controlled by the decision of the military administration of the occupation. Any moment, they could close the borders, any moment, as per the decision, this will be opened. For me, this is called abnormal living conditions. And abnormality is a very tough dichotomy when it comes to what justice means. Not only that, so it is not the wall or the settlements and the control over land controls development, sustainability, viability to produce better, viability to lead better, but it also threatens our Palestinian national entity as Palestinians who seek justice in living, exactly as any other human in any part of the world. By itself, the absence of a political solution, by not recognizing the right of the Palestinian nation in a state, also it affects and it creates internal challenges and difficulties. Let me give you an example. Still, when it comes to gender equality, we are working and doing our best as women who are very well known for their resilience and participation in whether as educated women, as women participating in supporting their families and their husbands, or themselves leading families. Still, when it comes to the question of gender equality, this is a secondary question when it comes to the political question, and it is always postponed. And the absence of the political final situation created additional problems when it comes to the control of law internally, I mean, within the Palestinian context. We have witnessed as well the breach, the separation between Gaza and the West Bank. And this is an additional challenge for us as a unified nation. So as long as the political solution is not there, we will witness not only economic and political and existential challenges, but I think we're going to witness another internal challenges as Palestinians.
As a person who's a community in Bethlehem and in Palestine in general, all of the cities on the West Bank, we can monitor a rise of violence, Palestinian violence. We can also document a shrinking space of freedom, with activists being harassed by security forces and so on. How is the situation in that matter in Bethlehem?
Well, when it comes to Bethlehem, I think it's a little bit different when it comes to liberty of expression, when it comes to, or let me tackle it from a different point of view. Your question is tackling the increase of violence in the West Bank from and within the Palestinian context. Hope is a crucial part. When people and when citizens start to lose hope, they start to lose interest. And if you define the meaning of the word hope, it brings you to a better living condition, freedom of expression, freedom of conducting your life normally. But in reality, Omar, we are not living in normality. And that's why within the context, when people try to express the rejection for any situation, and in order to keep the situation safe and secured, those who are trying to express their rejection, in many instances, they are attacked rather than accepted. And that's why I say we are witnessing an inter-Palestinian challenge and difficulty. Don't keep a nation live as is without a change in reality and without a fruit of hope for many years, because the alternative definitely will not be positive and will not be normal. And so different people take opportunities as it fits them, okay? Some people accept the reality that is taken on ground. We are losing more land, no peace, final peace process, no better living conditions. For many, they are against all this. And that's why we encounter a challenge. If they express, sometimes they are encountered by the security forces, and sometimes they accept their points of view. In the mere end, for me as Vera Baboun, freedom of expression is very important, even when it comes to a situation that is really difficult. And when it comes to the freedom of expression, we need to even express the situation positively. What do I mean? And this is important. When we express our opinion, it is not ultimately against or to the Palestinian Authority. Many people do express for sharing to the whole world. Our cause is a cause relinquished, left by the whole political will internationally, I mean. We expected better solutions, better results on ground. We, after the year 2000 and after the Oslo Agreement, we were in keen hope that a state will be witnessed. Today, we are on a ground where hope is lost and people are trying to accommodate, but still many are not accepting the reality on ground because, as I said, we have internal challenges, we have internal problems, we have accelerated internal rejection for the political reality that we live today.
I would like to, I forgot I did not unmute myself. There's plenty, I mean, it's within, when we look at Bethlehem, I remember from last year, there were a number of demonstrations by the lawyer unions, by judges. There seems to be a problem within the courts in Bethlehem.
Yeah.
It's in general all over the West Bank, but maybe specifically within the Palestinian courts in Bethlehem. But also there's a continuous complaints. People feel that law and order is weaker maybe in Bethlehem than other cities. Is this a fact, or is it just only?
It depends on your question, Omar. It is not the matter that in Bethlehem it's weaker than the rest of the West Bank, but there are some problems in Bethlehem that they are bigger from other West Bank cities, mainly when it comes to the issue of the land and problems. As you know, and it's clear that people are discussing this issue, that Bethlehem in the last 8 years is undergoing, the district of Bethlehem is undergoing the issue of the land settlement process, where the registration of land to its final ownership is still going on. For example, in Ramallah, the settlement ownership, I mean settlement, we have three types of, historically, three types of ownership to land. The first one was Maliyya, the second Tabu, and the last one is a Taswir. In Ramallah, all the land, all the property in Ramallah is already Taswir, done more than 30 years ago, even before. Bethlehem and Hebron, they encounter real challenges in the last registration, which is a Taswir. If you have, for example, a paper that says this piece of land is yours as per the settlement department, it is final. For the last 10 years, the settlement court in Bethlehem is not succeeding to accomplish the registration of land ownership as per the settlement department. And the question was raised all over. Why is it so? We have a very important factor, which is the judicial system. We have the reconciliation or the settlement court, which does not have enough number of judges to finalize the issue of the land and the objection over land or the registration of land presented to the court. This created a lot of conflict within the people. Let me give you an example. During my time as a mayor, if someone wants to build a house and needs a license, they should have the license from the municipality, which includes two very important conditions: land ownership, and if you're building abiding to the law and the license and all the needed instructions. Land ownership is, in many cases, a serious problem because not all of those who submit their papers to build anything in a land that they say we own, you suddenly find someone that comes to the municipality and submit an objection on the ownership or the land ownership. So that's why the settlement court is very important to finalize its work in order to ensure the ownership of land to each one. Today in Bethlehem, the settlement court has only one judge. And this is accelerating the problem because we have many cases, not only in registration, but many cases when it comes to the objection. Objections need a lot of sessions and more than at least 5 judges. Why we do not have enough judges? This is a question that I cannot reply. Because when it comes to the appointment of judges, it is there in Ramallah, it is within the Palestinian Authority, and this is a real challenge that we encounter. More people tend to proclaim or to claim that the land is theirs, while it is not approved that it is theirs. And those who are theirs, they cannot use the land or do anything because it is still under the objection phase, or even they might be attacked by others because they claim that the land is theirs. So this is a very serious issue when it comes to Bethlehem, not only Bethlehem, the city, mind you, this is the whole district, I think. And so the process of finalizing the registration of land and properties in the district of Bethlehem within the land settlement court, up till today, it is 10 years, and I'm concerned that it will take another 10 years, if not addressing the issue more seriously with a more efficient body of judges and number of judges.
I remember, and I know that you have done an initiative. You tried to address this problem and make changes the time that you were in the office as mayor.
Yes, during my time, actually, you know, the city of Bethlehem is a small city, actually. And as I became a mayor, I discovered that a good part of the city of Bethlehem, which is adjunct to the city of Jerusalem, inside the wall, from Caritas to Beit Sahur, we are talking about 2,000 dunams. They were within the borders of the city of Bethlehem, but not within the borders of the municipality of Bethlehem. They were not within the urban master plan of the municipality of Bethlehem. And so that created a lot of problems when it came to land ownership, a right to build in these lands, when it comes to the development of the area, opening new roads. So we had a decision by our council in order to add these 2,000 dunams to the borders of the municipality of Bethlehem. And the main reason, apart from development, I discovered that whoever wants to build a house, for example, and submit the papers of land ownership, second day, I will receive an objection from a neighbor or from another person who claimed that the land is his or hers. So we published an announcement on the newspapers saying that we do not accept any application if not the papers of land ownership is not fully right. But I did not stop there. So I submitted and published another announcement that says this area, the 2,000 dunam, has to go to an immediate land settlement department in order to convey and survey the land in these areas. The president, Abu Mazen, has immediately accepted to open or to establish a new land settlement department for this specific area in specific. And we did all the survey within 1 year. Still, the difficulty is with the objection process. and the court is still addressing these issues. For me, as a mayor, to include a survey to within the new land settlement department called the Karkafa department was very important in order to maintain the land and to maintain the efficient ownership of the land by its own original owners. And so it was very important. It took only 1 year, but the cases of objection, Omar, are still going on and is still not finalized. The president was keen to finalize this very important part of the Bethlehem district because it is adjunct to Jerusalem. It is the entry of Bethlehem and the exit of Bethlehem to Jerusalem, a very big area that I feel so proud that today it is under the district and the borders of Bethlehem municipality. But again and again, the challenge is the judicial system and how it can accelerate the process of finalizing the ownership and this file.
And I mean, with all of this and problems within the judicial system, it leaves the people on the margins very vulnerable. The people who do not have the social, the family sizes or the cultural, or are able to use the culture or the identity of their family and its connections to defend themselves. At least the people on the margins very vulnerable. We have a number of questions from our friends. You've mentioned that the economic situation is very bad. Very briefly, how can people who want to help, how can they help?
Well, this is, it depends from one area to another. Always I say the political will is supported or encountered by the people's will. We cannot deny that the tough economic situation is also interconnected to the political situation. And for me, the friends of Sabil, they are the people's will who can really affect the political will for a new reality in the political situation that we are encountering today. New settlements are built, no viable hope is witnessed because no viable decision is taken. And the reality to remain as is very difficult. As for the support of Bethlehem economically, definitely we are talking about changing the or replacing the absence of tourism in and to Bethlehem and other parts of the West Bank or the Palestinian territories. There are different initiatives, Omar. There are different initiatives. It depends. For example, let me share what I recently been part of. For example, the handicraft. Bethlehem is very well known for its handicraft industry. And today, people are replacing the visits by buying more handicrafts. But still, this is not enough. You I cannot give a final answer because, as I said, it's an initiative that is really addressing how to help people by simply sending aids. But I'm not looking at that. I'm talking about something that changes the life of people in Bethlehem, not simply providing them with a specific amount of aid or money in order to support a daily living for a specific period of time. No, we need to think together of an alternative for the absence of tourism and bringing a new reality. Bring Bethlehem to your houses instead than as we encounter the new reality, you come to Bethlehem. As long as you are not capable to come, we must bring Bethlehem to your places. And think of this initiative, bring Bethlehem to your part of the world. Bethlehem, as I know, and as it is not only a city. Bethlehem is a message. Bethlehem is a mission. Bethlehem is a call. Bethlehem needs to be reminded always because, again, Bethlehem is a message that brought peace to the world, and Bethlehem itself does not live that peace. Whoever believes in Bethlehem, he, she, himself, herself is a citizen of Bethlehem. And my responsibility is the same as your responsibility to the city of Bethlehem. Let us bring Bethlehem to your part if you cannot come to Bethlehem. Think how we can do that. This is very important. The revival of and the normal living conditions to the living stones in Bethlehem is very important because it keeps them there. You cannot, and it's impossible to keep Bethlehem with an entity of its religious sites only. No, it's the spirit. It's the living stones that we need to keep. And the political challenge is very creditable challenge. And that's always what I see. A political solution is not only needed to give Palestinians a justice and a just living, but to keep on the Christian existence in our part of the world, because it's affecting it dramatically.
We have a question, is that if the wall, because many people or even during your talk and during this meeting, we talk about the wall, we talk about the settlements, we talk about the checkpoints. What if all of this disappeared? Do you think there will be still peace?
What is peace? If you really define the word peace, it does not exclude one on the expense of the other. It does not live the dichotomy of the advantaged and the disadvantaged. This wall is a binary. It creates two people. One is advantaged and the other is disadvantaged. It is not simply saying without walls or settlements, or to me as Vera, as a Palestinian who lives the other part of the wall. Mind you, I'm the occupied, and the one who has the upper hand is the occupier. And this question is very important to be asked to the advantaged part. Why do I say so? Security is very important to Israel, but security is very important to me as Palestinian as well. The absence of peace affects the security of all people living in our part of the world. And who claims that only the Israelis seek security? They are not reading signs correctly. We as Palestinians who live different challenges are in a desperate need to a secured living. So, equality, justice bring peace, and peace brings security. And it is for the political will to decide how this process can go on. Two-state solution or one-state solution without borders, without or exchange of land. Many scenarios are there. But I need, and you need, and we need a political will to act on ground, to make what you have presented, the questions you have asked, possible. I cannot ask if walls are not there, peace can be witnessed simply. I need to act. And if you ask me, are actions on ground efficient? I tell you no. That's why our questions will remain in the realm of questions, in the realms of rhetoric. What we need in order to see what I wish for and what you wish for, thankfully, we need actions. And it's not exclusively for Israelis and Palestinians. This is a cause that needs the intervention as well of the international community. Why do we need walls? Why do we need walls if security and justice and equality is given to both nations? You cannot deny that I do not exist as a Palestinian. No, I'm there. and I will remain, and my people will remain, because we did not come from Jupiter. We were there. And so the viable question, are we capable to create this reality?
Thank you for these powerful words. You're a powerful speaker, and as a mayor of Bethlehem, you've met many important leaders and delegations and decision makers. Did any of them really follow up on anything?
Well, I cannot say that I addressed them and they follow or they did not follow up on anything. Definitely, people are trying, and visitors and diplomats are supporting in whether in the decision they take within their countries or by supporting Bethlehem, for example, per se. Let me share with you an incident that took place when I met President Obama in the Nativity Church. That was a historical moment for me. And I remember the president was supposed to enter Bethlehem via helicopter. And there was a sand wind, you know, that prevented the president from entering Bethlehem from or by the helicopter, but to enter Bethlehem via a convoy of cars. The visit was delayed for 2 hours as the wind and the calmed down. The moment the president arrived to the Nativity Church, we were there all, His Excellency, our president as well. I was there, and John Kerry was there, and we had a talk in the middle of the Nativity Church. And I had a message to the president saying, you know, even Mother Nature refused that you enter from Bethlehem from above the wall. This wind enforced its language on ground, and you entered Bethlehem through the wall, and definitely have seen the wall. This wall is that we live, see on a daily basis. And I hope, Mr. President, that you understand our message, not only us. I think today Mother Nature has sent you a message as well.
But unfortunately, the wall continues to exist and the checkpoints, and
it's a global language, Omar. Today in the United Nations, many decisions were taken, but nothing is applied on ground when it comes to decisions within the Palestinian context. And I need a courageous heart to address the issue. It is not the mention of voting against or with, as much as voting for a decision that ends the plight of injustice that we live in. Today, Sheikh Jarrah, we are talking about a new 1948 deportation. But people are living there, reality, people are living there. You cannot just go and expel under whatever context you have. Huh? But in Yuli, we are witnessing a new reality. One hand can never clap. And the hand of justice needs more than one hand. And this is my call, not for us in Palestine, not only for us within the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. The hand of justice, in order to have a vocal reply and sound, needs all our hands. And I don't see the hands. I see only one hand.
We have an important question, is like, how does the repair of the judicial system start? How can people internationally, the Friends of Palestine, help in bringing this change?
I think it's an internal decision by the Palestinian Authority. They are trying, and I know that they are trying, but still challenges are encountered. And I prefer, and I wish that you make an interview, Omar, or you create a Zoom with one of those responsible within the judicial system who might give you better clarification, better procedures to be done or committed in the future. What we see today, still, we need a lot of steps to be taken in order to enhance, mainly when it comes to the land judicial process. This is very important. No one can do anything except the system itself. They need to be aware about the challenges that we live. And the acceleration in the decision-making process within the court is very crucial. It is not simply about property ownership, it's about life sustainability ownership as well, development, empowerment.
We have 2 questions left. We have more than 2 questions, but I get to pick and choose. That's one of the privileges of being a moderator in the meeting. So who was growing up, who was a female role model for you, Vera?
Well, Hanan Ashrawi was a female a model for me, politically speaking. Hanan Ashrawi, my mother was a very important female role for me. The way she led her family and her life, the way I tracked, the way she takes her decisions. Other than that, I'm a student of literature. It is not a matter of a female role or an example, but I was highly affected by Toni Morrison, the Afro-American woman novelist. And I read all her novels. And I felt that in every word, in every line, in every paragraph, there was a problem and there was an empowerment. It learned me a lot. I cannot say only I'm empowered by one woman. I'm empowered by different faces, by different entities of women, each in her field, each in her capacity. Myself, I encountered a lot of difficulties as a woman who suddenly found herself when I was only 26 years old. I found my husband detained, as a political detainee in the first Intifada, a mother of 3 children, only 26 years old, and I had to face life alone. You know who were my role models, Omar? They were the women peasants who sell vegetables in the streets of Jerusalem. But you know where I met them? I used to meet them every 15 days in the Red Cross buses, visiting our detainees in Hebron. I learned, I listened to their stories. I saw their power. I saw their resilience. And I remember I was a young mother with her 3 children, 5, 3, and 2, visiting my husband in the detention because he was detained during the first Intifada as a Palestinian political activist. And I was really weak then. But listening to their stories, looking at them, wow, Omar, they were an unbelievable role model of power, of resilience, of wisdom. These women were also my role models. How they visited their children, their husbands. It was a new story for me, a new chapter in my life that I owe much. And these women were very important example to me in my life. And you know what? As I became a mayor and I visited the old market where we sell vegetables, as I had my first visit to the old market in Bethlehem, I saw one of them. And I saw one of these women, and she was sitting on the ground selling her vegetables. We exchanged greetings, and even I had tears in my eyes. And after that, when I had the decision and the council had the decision to renovate the old market, I decided to include building a new part for the women sellers who sell vegetables, for their dignity, for their entity, because I saw them. I know what challenges they encounter. And so this is the story of women's support of other women and by other women. So I cannot say that I have only one woman as an example. Every woman, even I see in my journey of life, sometimes she resonates from me in a way or another and gives me a lesson and support. And she might be my example. One final thing. I know that in order to affect change, I had to go through a journey not taken before. And this is my message to you all. Change cannot come from monotony. Change comes from a moment of revolution. What do I mean with revolution? Robert Frost wrote his poem. He's an American poet, wrote his poem, Road Not Taken. And in my life, I knew that every journey I had conducted for the first time and been an example for others, I conducted changes. Being the first woman mayor to Bethlehem since 1872, definitely I had conducted a journey not taken before by any other woman, and I led it. I encountered a lot of challenges, a lot of rejection, a lot of unbelievable difficulties, but I knew that I was opening a new road for others to follow. And in order to create a change in the world, and even in the issue of my conflict within the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, let us think of a road not taken before. Those you're listening to me, let us think of a way that might create a different angle, a new change that nobody has not taken before. We need courage, we need wisdom, we need belief in this mission, because it is addressing a very human entity and a very human context. Mind you, this is not only Palestine. This is the Holy Land as well. This is where the messages of peace and love were born here and given to the whole world. Keeping them alive is very crucial.
Very powerful. The final question, and you cannot, if we want to ask, what's your favorite location in Bethlehem, or the thing that, the place that you like, and you cannot say the Church of the Nativity.
La. I love the Church of the Nativity, of course.
Of course, we are. But if you want to say something that is like a specific place for people, when people want to visit Bethlehem, and when our friends come and visit again Bethlehem, they want to say, oh, this is the place that Vera Baboun likes, you know?
I like Premisan. I like Premisan Valley, which is today now is old. But honestly, it was very, very close to my heart and is very close to my heart. I like in the district of Bethlehem, the Batir, and I frequently go there. But Premisan is the beauty of Bethlehem, the nature of Bethlehem, the greenness of Bethlehem, the richness of Bethlehem, you know, and its land. So I like it so much. Definitely, all Bethlehem is beautiful, though it's now together, you know. Remind you, Bethlehem today is a World Heritage List. And so we are trying to bring the modern with the heritage and the cultural heritage, but within the referee of Bethlehem, the land of Bethlehem is very beautiful, and the landscape of Bethlehem is very beautiful. And so personally, since you asked me, I like Premisan a lot.
Yes, and I mean, really, it's very beautiful. I agree with you.
Which is separated now by a wall.
Only separated by a wall, we should say. Vera Baboun, thank you so much. It has been a blessing and wonderful having you with us, but it's also an honor having you as a Palestinian and from Bethlehem. Bethlehem deserves the strongest woman, and it's wonderful and it's a blessing to have you leading Bethlehem. I would
Thank you, Omar.
Consider other political positions in Palestine, Prime Minister, Minister, President, too. You will get my vote.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have one final message, Omar, and a story that I would like to share with all. In 2000, between 2012, when we started the restoration of the Nativity Church, it was a very huge and a very prominent process, the restoration of the Nativity. Actually, in 2014, I was in my office, and the company that was restoring the Nativity Church, they discovered a new mosaic angel in the Nativity Church who was covered. When they uncovered the piece of mosaic and the sixth angel appeared, for me, it was a divine message. And I share it with you. Mind you, when the angels started and announced the birth of the King of Bethlehem, in 2014, we have seen the image of the angel that is heading to the grotto of the Nativity. Inside each one of us, we have a grotto called the heart. I call for the angel to visit your hearts, to be capable to pray and to act for peace, not only for us in Bethlehem or in Palestine, but to pray for you and your nations as well. Bethlehem without peace, as if the world is without peace. Thank you. Pray for peace to your families and your nations as well.
Thank you so much for being with us, and we hope to see you very soon in Bethlehem.
Inshallah.
But also in over these weekly Zoom meetings. Take care, and let's keep working for peace. Take care, friends.
Nice meeting you all.
Bye.